Hi, I'm Javaune Simpson, and welcome back to Speak Up. Now, for today's topic, we're talking about. Hi, I'm Javaune Simpson, and welcome back to Speak Up. Now, for today's topic, we'll be talking about 15% increase.
We spoke about the violence already. We spoke about the fact that persons will get aggressive. And even in getting aggressive, that's one of the things I was actually thinking about a day ago or something like that. And I was like, can you imagine at this point in time when persons are stressed? We know the psychological part of it already. Jamaican people just aggressive overall. And then we take into consideration the stress of COVID, the stress of not having a job, the stress of not being in school, or the stress of just returning to school if school happens face to face this coming September. When you take into consideration all of these things, you find that persons will be even more stressed and even more liable to bust a fight or do whatever it is that they want to do. And perhaps in the name of $5 or $1, how are you feeling about that? The psychological effect of everything that might take place.
Right. So as I see that we're kind of moving from more of just a standard and economical decision, and we're just kind of zoning in more on real life, reality, social and psychological aspect of this one decision. And as we established before, that this decision it cannot be isolated from the whole sphere of just how country or culture is growing or not growing or all of that. And that said, I believe that psychologically, a $5, a $15 in this time, and remember now, culturally we are known to be that kind of aggressive natured people. And adding to that and the frustration and the stress, right? We have people that no people on the job right now, as you said a while ago. No people on the job right now, and then to add to that, no, we in Jamaica have this mentality of we have to try to make it work, and that's how I grew up. See my grandparents, my mother have to try to make it work. And so you see that have to try to make it work, we are going to compromise in so much areas of our life, whether it's our mental health. So listen, right now, This is what I want, and everybody in the house are gonna start feel it, because even if it's mommy alone and take a transportation, when all that energy come home, the frustration of saying that, okay, this is one more dollar that I don't have. In addition to that, this compromising in having to make it work might lead people to do things that they wouldn't do on a normal basis. Because now we have to go stretch out to go try to find the money where you can find it from, right? We're going in that social aspect of things where the reality is, if me have a sick kidney, right, and she need to get to the hospital, I'm going to feel even more tempted to do something outside of integrity to ensure that my child lives to see the next day. As I said, for some people, this is not that serious enough. And me personally, I can witness to that because recently I was admitted to the hospital. And listen, we're talking about transportation in terms of taxi, but we're forgetting things like ambulance, right? That are essential, because all of this go back to healthcare and everything is surrounding. I was recently at the hospital and our personal vehicles. And we, for some reason, I don't really remember what happened, and an ambulance was not provided, right? And mind you, I was admitted in the hospital, and the hospital themselves did not have an ambulance available to take me somewhere to get a diagnostic test done. And we had to find the money wherever to find it from to get a private hospital, private ambulance to take me to wherever I needed to go.
Right.
Now, mind you, if we couldn't afford it before, and that hustling mentality, I get it where we get it from, we are thinking about now that ambulance costs are going to go up too, because this is transportation nonetheless.
Right.
So we see this burden coming down in a deeper social and type of rooted thing now, because when you're talking about lives, it becomes real. Because it's not just you know, so you drive at this, you drive at that. It's not just driving to go to work. It's not just and even at work, the healthcare sector, we see with the doctors on strikes and all of those things already pressed by the lack of wages and the wage not meeting demands. And mind you, they too need transportation. So this is going to affect them. And me personally, as I said, as an intern, the money for transportation, listen, when they take that out of the pay, trust me.
Right,
Trust me.
I know it's transportation and food, because there has been an increase, and I'm actually glad that you touched on the topic of psychology and mental health, because I don't want to get too personal, but I'm currently not with my company, so I'm currently jobless because this whole pandemic, this whole staying at home thing was affecting my mental health, and I had to take a break from that. What a lot of persons don't know, because just in case anybody would like to know, we do have psychologists or therapists or guidance and counselors that are provided free. Javaune should know that number that he can put on the screen, I guess. But since COVID, there has been, you know, everybody is doing everything over Zoom, WebEx, or whatever. And because there has been more persons being affected mentally by this whole pandemic, differently from the rest of everything we have on, just people losing their job and stuff. So there has been,
so they're already prompting that aggressive state.
Right.
Even this.
Right. And even though we have resources at the tip of our fingers, just to say, due to COVID and due to the increase of persons having psychological issues right now, getting a free therapist is not so easy as it was before. And I don't want to state numbers, but just to say, to, you know, get a therapist that you can speak with, say for today, because, you know, you have to set a schedule for those persons, appointments, I should say. That also costs money, and it's just over a Zoom call. That is actually over $6,000, and I would know, because, you know, I sit up in the house and I say, you know, me, I'm gonna let me and go. So, you know, I had to take my mental health in hand and actually paid to speak with someone, you know, just to go over life itself. So it looked like, say, no, like how food raised, fare raised, although I don't take the bus that often, petroleum costs just go up. So, and Diane Shea, that is the, you know, the president for the petroleum, the retailers, she's kind of doing this blaming game. So for me, no, me have to go sit down and say, you know, me have to go put down another 6,000, 7,000, 9,000 plus to see a therapist to say, hey, you know, I have the money for food, but I didn't find the money to pay a while ago. So there's a lot of things that actually comes in, and this can be a broad topic. I mean, to speak about this can be a never-ending topic, to be honest, because there's right. There's a lot that is compact with this topic.
Yeah, and as you touch up on the retailing and the blaming game, so we have a tendency to blame why we think the prices are high and who's to be blamed, and that even pressure psychology, because now the society is now saying, okay, me gonna beat you up because are you responsible, even though in clear view we all see the obvious reason why this would arrive. Nonetheless, as you said, it don't take the pressure off of the people in. And then we have this mentality where you were saying that the taxi men wanted to get 80%, for example, raise. We have this selfishness in, we all acknowledge that there's a problem, but everybody, no one wants to have equity in taking a bite of the problem. We want to be problem free, and you to get all of the problems. So the consumer, they're supposed to take the burden of all this cost, while me, the taxi man, or me, the government, or me, the retailer, or me, the industry, supposed to not feel that blunt of the cost. So that's also a deeper level of how we proportion these rates and these things. And it's some of these things we just can't control it.
Yeah. Everybody's just for themselves. And I think if it's a case where we all work together, things would have been a bit better. But these days, COVID, man, I sell when one pair was pay $100. So there's a raise in food now, but there's always been a raise in food since COVID. There's always been a raise in fare since COVID. Let's just be honest. There's just it's what I should say, legal.
It's just no legal.
Right. It's just no legal raise. But there's always been a raise. Ever since COVID, when peer was for $100, no peer at $500, all them type of things. Like there's always been a raise. But like when the government come out and say, hey, you see when Mr. John did I charge a 500, a 500 we're gonna make Mr. John keep on charging you. So it's like now that it's legitimate. No, we are saying no man, but it's serious. Like it's serious now.
And ladies, like, all right, so you ladies said a whole lot of things a while ago that is very much on point. Very much on point. I want to say and cover everything that you just said a while ago with a backtrack to the starting of it where Shereese opened up about mental health. Because that's one of the biggest topics that we have been discussing worldwide currently, right? A lot of persons have been experiencing harsh realities when it comes down to mental health. I can tell you that I too have had my days when feel like everything alright, but somebody asks you everything alright, they say, yeah man, everything good man. And yeah, I've thought about getting a counselor too, realizing that I can't counsel myself, as it's not recommended, because I'm gonna tell myself the right answers or the wrong answers. But anyways, in speaking about mental health, one of the things that you would have mentioned is that it adds to the problem, and I do believe that it adds to the problem a whole lot. I believe that Jamaicans in general have gotten too complacent with where it is that we are when it comes down to mental health. So many of us are challenged when it comes down to mental health issues. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I learned from back in college days, right, is that the whole of we have mental health issues. Every single one of we have mental health issues, whether or not we want to acknowledge it, yes or no. For some, it's less than some, while for some, it is more than some, right? And that's just the reality of it. Over a period of time, what we find happening is that persons hide behind curtains. Persons hide behind walls. Persons hide behind closed doors. And they beat up themselves behind closed doors.
But you may hide behind my heart.
So persons hide. And as I mentioned before, somebody asks if you're alright. They say no. I say, yeah man, I'm good man. I'm good. But when you go home, you ball it up. Right? I applaud you, Shereese, for opening up when it comes down to that part of the conversation. Because a lot of persons are suffering with it in silence, and many persons want help. Unfortunately, that we're not, starting face to face. So I think it would make a very much better video if it was that we're all together. But in due time again. We mentioned mental health.
Before we pass the topic of health, before we pass the topic of health, that's one of the other things, the areas that I think there needs to be great accountability. Because even since COVID, we know that the government has offered publicly promises of, you have this call line that you can call. And again, for me, I don't know if it's like a publicity stunt or it's just an attention thing. Because when I can give account for friends that I know who have taken that route, right?
Yeah.
Over 5 friends, that's not a good statistical value, but I'm just talking about people who I know who have tried that route. And
Yeah.
the common issue that they say is that them call and them call from today to tomorrow, nobody don't answer all now. And so for me, it is like, are we really doing something? Are we trying to make up a show that we are actually trying to solve a situation? No, I'm not trying to get in the political agenda of these things, but just that the social aspect of it is real and that they help. That is help. Is it really help?
Listen, thing. I hear you say you're not trying to get into the political part of it, but that's something that we can't avoid. I believe that I believe that us as not only Jamaicans but persons in general across the world, whichever country you're from, you play a role in politics as well, right? So and you mentioning accountability is exactly where I was going to go after the mental health issue. But you actually put them together, and that's good. So where I was going with the accountability issue is that you're so right. You're so right with that. When it comes down to accountability, we lack in that arena a whole lot. Many of us, what is that we do from time to time, and even when it comes down to this 15% increase, persons generally look and say, here what? Blame the person over there because they must actually ask for the increase, and we just try to comfort them, right? And that's and I can assure you that's what the government is saying currently. They must try to accommodate somebody else, right? When you go to the taxi man, you say, here what? One of the things is, I think my mother would have said it. Mother said, and it was on point when she said it. She said, who don't want fair increase and not even accountable for an action? That's another point. Because one of the things in which I would have said over over the years, over the last couple of months is that, here what? I don't think that persons in the transportation industry are accountable people. When I say accountable people, I mean accountable for their actions in terms of I'm going to put on a touchy topic, and it's about the disappearance of children, adults, women in general. Quite often you find that the last person to see a particular person is the taxi man or the bus driver. But when you ask them what a person is, oh man, I don't know. Look in the case of Jasmine Dean. Yeah, they said that they had this particular taxi that she actually took to go downtown. But upon asking this taxi man about her and the last time he saw her, he wasn't really helpful in it. So, over the months I've been saying, I believe that as a people, and this is where we come in together now. I believe that as a people, and I think Shereese was saying something like this, if it is that we don't come together and say, here what? We're going to hold people accountable for their actions, then persons simply won't change. Because if we don't come together and say, here what, taxi me now, check you, and killing us start become more accountable for their action. Somebody go missing, you're supposed to can say, here what, I write that someone drop them off, and you see them turned away there with one man or one woman or whatever it is. Because you should be paying attention. You understand what I'm saying? Like, just the other day, I believe that there was I believe the Gleaner posted an article about a man that was, I believe he was trafficking a teenager, was trying to bring the teenager to Kingston from, I believe, Manchester, somewhere in the rural area, to bring them to Kingston. Nobody had any idea as to why this man was bringing this teenager, this young girl to town to meet somebody else, to meet another male figure, right? And this became apparent. I don't remember who became apparent to, and that person reported it, and then the police got involved.
And this is what the people are going to say. No, if you can't enforce laws and rules in such a way that these taximan and not just taximan overall, because I don't want taxi people feel like, okay, I'm targeting the small ones. That the whole transport industry, you can't hold them accountable for serious issues like kidnapping and trafficking and that. How can we trust you with that, to just that simple issue of fear?
Me personally, I've always said this, and I've heard persons say it before. I'm not rich, obviously. But what I'm saying is that I generally prefer having quality service put the money in which I'm going to pay. So if I'm going to pay you $200, right? If you're going to pay you twice as much, it must be that you're going to offer something where another man not offer. Another thing that I would like to include is, before we bring the loan to the end of it, is that I need to put more emphasis on the fact that if it is that we don't come together, Shereese should have said it earlier, right? If we don't come together and say we're not comfortable with these things, then government will continue to force it on it. One of the things that I realize that people leave out of the conversation is that it is not the system that is fighting against it. The system is not out there and we are here. We are a part of the system. I've always said that. Persons always arguing when they say it, right? I believe that all of us are a part of the system. We might not be politicians, we might not be JPs, might not be MPs, but we are a part of the system. If we not say this, government can't do this. That's the power we hold. If we not stand up and say, here what, do this, government not gonna do it. Because government is just as fearful of us as we are fearful of them. Right? There are several Jamaica don't even have a law problem, you know. Jamaica have a law problem. Jamaica have enough laws under the book. Enough laws. I always make fun of the fact that Jamaica has one of the laws that states they're not supposed to keep it on the side of the road. And if you go off a tree, no way not think of off a tree. Where police tour the place almost 24/7. These things happen over and over. It's not a matter of us lacking laws. We have the laws. It's just that we not follow through with them. Right? That's on our it is.
Listening to you, so I'm getting the conclusion that, right? So our problem is not the reasonability or if it's something is reasonable or unreasonable for a change such as simple as or not that simple. I don't want to belittle it as a change in fear is not necessarily the issue. The frustration does not really come from how reasonable or unreasonable this is, but the conclusion of the root of the issue seems to be coming from moral integrity, justice, and indiscipline. So even though it's here, like bring all of that together, coming all the way down to where we are right now, we see that the root of these things is not necessary, because everybody can agree or disagree that, we know that this is inevitable. For the most part, I think anybody with any sense of reasonability can come to a reasonable, even agree to disagree, stand that the raising would be inevitable. Whether it was raised by $1 or $3, that's the next debate. But I think that it's reasonable to have a conversation with 1,000 people and would come to the conclusion that inevitably we saw this coming. But the frustration and the desperation, the devastation seem to me from our discussion here to be coming down and trickling down to the root of indiscipline and lack of moral integrity and justice.
Right. In closing though, I promise you ladies that I'll be asking a random question. And in talking about what it is that we're talking about, I decided to make this random question a bit linked to the same way. They give free advertisement to KFC, right? So KFC prices have raised at least once or twice in the last 2 months. What do you ladies think about that? I don't know if you ladies are customers of KFC. What do you think about that?
Personally,
KFC I behave like say I'm going after them chicken and going in after them chicken. So me not like KFC since KFC raised.
Says the political incorrect Jamaicans. Jamaicans, I'm glad they bring it up, because Jamaicans, no matter how much KFC price go up, it's not overbearing as the fear. Because KFC can never be too much. This is Jamaicans' approach when KFC and rate. KFC just in one category on them own. Like Jamaicans,
Right.
So even if KFC got $200, this is Jamaican people. We not pay out $200. Nah.
Backyard.
Friday night, go and check the KFC line.
Long from here to do this though.
And then these other things kind of begs you to like, okay, what's the part in Jamaican's life? In Jamaican's life, like personally, I'm one of those persons sometimes. I'm like, no, KFC, you're ridiculous. And for me, sometimes I'm like, you know, if we Jamaican people would just work together in that sense of just saying that we're not paid, I am sure that KFC would have up and dropped the price. And that's where the conversation about unity comes in. Like, we don't unite even for simple, like, I think that's accomplishable, like, if that's a word, that we can accomplish that. Like, we can, as Jamaicans, we have that monopoly kind of aspect in terms of KFC. This is accomplishable. This is something that if Jamaican people say, we not pay no $50 for the chicken, I am confident that KFC would have been
I think when it comes down to KFC is KFC have the worst customer service, if anybody don't know. Everybody in Jamaica is supposed to know. You just take the treatment and buy your food, because differently from the raising in price. Remember when they did fine, when they did see the rat crawl up in a KFC, the people, and there was a lot of persons when they said,
exactly.
Other people are saying, I just want rat. Like, I'm like, what do you mean by it's just one rat? If you see one, that means a million rat there in there, sir. And you and the rat are eating KFC, and the people don't want KFC shut down.
And including,
at the same time, I think KFC, because we can bring this back now to mental health and the psyche, because at the same time, you know, when everything I go bad in the world, COVID I go on, you know, KFC, the only thing that make me feel good. So I don't me just say, you know what, KFC, the price needs to go down. I gotta stand up in the line and go get my KFC. Because at the end of the day, you have to please yourself in some way. And you know, when you finish argue and you feel better, because you don't argue, you know, and you don't go on with yourself on social media, and you don't lick down KFC and bam down KFC and everything what you do, but still I go join the line for my KFC. Afterwards, I realize, say, hey, I'm not have nobody about me to say, you know what, the price really not gonna go down, because it's just like going to KFC, right? And you buy a zinger box, and then I'm gonna tell you, say, coleslaw done. Coleslaw done, you're still paying the same price for the zinger box, and then I give nothing extra. You just don't get the coleslaw. These are the corruption that go on in a KFC. And this is why I feel like say they probably have a little tubes. I just a little tubes. Up there in a KFC that can be something too. We are tired of people them. Yeah, them are tired of people them at Jamaica in a KFC. We not like that. We have to go pray about this, because there's some science in this.
I think it's a perfect analogy of our attitude though towards even just our attitude generally, even towards more serious things. But I guess humor meeting is welcome.
Definitely. In closing though, I would really like to thank you ladies for spending the time with us here and Speak Up. This is the first time I'm actually doing a Zoom meeting for Speak Up, for the purpose of Speak Up. So you guys have made history. So shout out to Chin and Shereese for spending the time with us. And it simply shows that we could have gone well over probably 5 hours and comfortably. Because even though we still not feel like in the conversation. And I want to make the proposition that we probably have a meet up and talk about different topics, probably including KFC, as Shereese would have mentioned. And when you mention the whole thing, just in closing, when you mention the whole thing about rats, that's so true. And the whole that some guzu in it, some guzu in a KFC, you don't know, some guzu must in the recipe. Because us Jamaicans, we know how we say if we go on a regular cook shop on the corner and we see one fly or so much fly. We not go back there, we not go, I wish one roast fly part. We say we not go back there. But if you have things like rats, and we still go buy KFC. Similar, I think you say they don't go back there. from them time there? You say you
Where?
haven't gone back?
Where? No, I haven't personally. I'm not going to use my money to buy KFC. Personally, I will not. As much as me, I go protest. I will not spend my money at KFC. Maybe someone spends money, but not my money.
When people like yourself.
No, I don't like after. I haven't bought it. As I said, I don't mind. I will not spend it with my money, but you know, somebody else's money.
Hey. Alright. Alright, but I mean that's generally my position though. And again, this is not me telling anybody not to, buy anything. Again, me not licking up.
People don't buy KFC. Don't buy KFC. We are protesting for buy none.
I'm not afraid to lick out again, but I'm just saying I'm not trying to put it out there to say you don't go KFC. I think that we should be responsible as people to come together, and if it is that we have an issue with something such as KFC, and this comes back even to the conversation, and again, this comes back to the conversation of 15% increase, because that's how we see as Jamaicans, and even when it comes down to issues such as Jasmine being missing and females being missing and murdered and rape and all these things, we complain for 2 weeks. After that,
that's it. Yeah, we're satisfied. We're satisfied too easily, and we move away from community.
Definitely. So again, ladies, I want to thank you a lot for stopping here and speak up and speaking on the topic. I hope it is that you would have enjoyed it. I hope you were comfortably put out your points out there, and I'll give you the opportunity just to give your closing remarks and close out.
All right. So in our closing remarks, so I will not speak on the topic which you've already speaked on for hours, but I'd like to thank my mom for bringing me in this world so I can be on this podcast, and I'd like to thank Mr. Simpson himself. A long time we go and come on the podcast of people, and I want to know both to come back because a long time me and tell him to bring my panties. Over to you, Chief.
I am just humbled for the platform and just being able to voice. I mean, this is something that I've never done before. I've had a lot of perspective overall, but not like actually going into any interface. And I think this is new, and I find it pretty interesting. And what my takeaways from this is that, outside of the acknowledgement of the need for justice and moral integrity and just social community amongst our Jamaicans, is, as you said, the need for functional unity, not just uniting and saying, yes, close down 2 weeks and then we'll be satisfied easily. So my takeaway and my meditation will be, how can us as Jamaicans move away from that 2 week satisfaction and actually pursue functional unity that manifests something that we actually want to manifest and see manifest in our land. So that's my takeaway from it. And I'm very grateful that we had you here.
All right. This has been Speak Up with Javaune Simpson. Much love. God bless.